Hello, my name is Darrell Robert Schoon. I'm here with Reverend Betty Tatalajski, the founder of the Temple of Universality. And here we are in Tucson. And I know Tucson has a lot of things to be proud of. Cheese crisps, green corn tamales.
Oh, yes.
Those beautiful sunsets.
Oh, beautiful.
The Santa Catalina Mountains. But I tell you, folks,
You're rich.
this is what is unique to Tucson. Reverend Betty Tatalajski wasn't always a reverend. And she was raised a Southern Baptist, converted to Catholicism because she met a Catholic when she was in the Marines. And she decided that she was going to show him the error of his ways.
You're going to convert him.
You're going to convert him, exactly. Which shows two Marines.
Going to save him.
Going to save him, all right? She became the Catholic, though. But what happened to her when she came to Tucson is really extraordinary. She was working for a public relations firm in downtown Tucson, and she heard about this spiritualist church, all right? And so she was going to go down there and do an article on them. An expose, huh?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, just people who, who do those spiritualist things, who hear voices.
Certainly didn't believe it.
Yeah, that's right. But what happened is, and we're all the richer for it, because when Betty Tatalajski walked into that spiritualist church, she walked into what she now calls Wonderland. And because you did that, Betty, we are all the richer.
And I am. This is my 33rd year of being in Wonderland. And I want everybody to be there with me. Because there's a lot of pain in the world, a lot of worry. A lot of folks don't remember what you worry about, you get. What you celebrate, you also experience. And those are laws, cosmic laws. But who knew? I've just been thinking with all the fighting and, every other day it seems like we're at war with some other country. And I remember a couple of years ago when a lot of people were wearing bracelets that WWJD, what would Jesus do? Well, I don't tend to think that Jesus would be declaring war on folks around the world because they look different or speak differently or worship differently the one creative source. I never understood why we can't celebrate other people's rituals and dogmas and their way of worshiping. In my travels around the world, I've had opportunity to do that, to go to mosque and one of the things that really fascinated me was the Indonesian firewalk. And I remember very well Proverbs 23:7 when it says, as a man thinks it is. That's cosmic law. So that meant that these Indonesians that were having such a celebratory time, celebrating the creative source in their own way, could do what they did. Now, the films that I saw later sort of indicated that they were kind of like special. Well, I thought they were special, that they could do this, but Jesus said, the things I do, you shall do, and even greater works than these. And if one person can do it, everybody can, if you're paying attention to cosmic law.
So you're telling us, Betty, that those things that we saw, most of the rest of us saw, in the pages of National Geographic,
yes.
All right, that we could do that.
We can do that.
All right, okay.
Well, who knew?
Who knew?
Well, Jesus knew.
Okay.
That's what he said, as a man thinks it is. So it was fascinating to me. And I always thought, I could do that. There are so many things I cannot do that I haven't, that I think I cannot do. I haven't tried. But it was always like, I believe that's possible. So I kept
Betty,
waiting for an opportunity.
You had a very different reaction to that possibility than I did.
It was just just fascinating to me how these people can do it. And I've never seen any Americans do it,
Yeah.
you know. But anyway, my time came, and I had.
What year was this?
This was, well, it was 25 years
Okay.
ago.
All right.
And Tolly Burkan.
In Tucson?
Yeah, in Tucson.
All right, Tucson.
Well, I was waiting for Tolly
Are you
Burkan
sure you
to
just weren't
come.
walking on the asphalt street in Congress
Yes.
in midsummer without shoes?
Absolutely. Yes. So a lot of people have done it, but they've gone home and put burn cream on their feet. You
That's
know,
right.
we all have.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, I had that in the back of my mind, and then when I heard of Tolly Burkan, and he was going around and facilitating this, giving people the opportunity to do it. You don't do it just because you want to see if you can get your feet burned or not, but it's mind over matter, you know. And that Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinks in his heart, he is. Now, it was kind of going through my mind a lot when I saw that he actually was facilitating this, okay?
And when you read about it, you knew that you were curious about it. You wanted to, you
Absolutely.
more than curious. You wanted to try
I
it.
wanted to do it.
Okay.
But, you know, I was working, I was teaching and all of this. I didn't have opportunity to go and look for him.
Yeah.
And so a couple of things happened. One is that my granddaughter, who was not quite 2, about 20 months old, and I had just bought a new Cougar, okay, and she loved it. And this sort of precipitated my thing about fire, okay, because I came home from work, and my daughter had brought my granddaughter over, and we went in the kitchen, and the next thing I look around, and Kristen is not in the apartment, and I knew exactly where she was. Well, when I parked at the apartment place, when I got out on the pavement, it was so hot. They had just redone it.
Yeah.
And it burnt me through
Shoes?
through my shoes.
Okay.
So I go in, you know, I look around, and 2 minutes later, Kristen is not there. I knew where she was. I knew she was running across that asphalt. And I knew somehow that I could not afford, it could not happen that she was going to burn her feet, okay? That was just not going to happen, okay? So I knew I knew that if I worried about her, she was going to be crippled for life,
yeah.
okay? Her little feet were this big.
Yeah.
So I came to the park, I just ran out. Right next door is my parking lot. The hot asphalt in there still had my footprints in it. I looked over, and there she was standing by my car. I knew that if I worried about her, she was going to be crippled. If I said, you know, act like I was scared.
Yeah.
So I ran over to the car, and I picked her up. Her little feet were just as cool as anything. And she says, "Grandma's Cougar." She loved for me to go in and turn the water on and let it splash her, you know.
Yeah.
So we did that.
Yeah.
And that really moved me into wanting to firewalk, because my granddaughter, who wasn't 2 years old, had just done it.
And you knew
I knew
that your holding the focus was a part of the process.
I knew
Yeah.
just automatically
Yeah.
if I jarred her,
Yep.
if I was fearful,
Yeah.
I could not afford it because I was going to cripple her.
Sure.
And so that's how this little girl, this baby, convinced me firewalking is real. If you don't have any fear, if you know you can do it, you can. So I've been a fan of Tolly Burkan, and you know, people who we all have a light in us. We're light beings. But sometimes, and usually, there are so many challenges in life, in this ladder that we're climbing, that keep us from, we sort of move up and down. And when I think of his life and the lives of most of my heroines and heroes, they've not just been born with a golden spoon or a silver spoon and
floated up.
Floated up.
Yeah, right.
But most of my heroes and heroines have been champions, Olympic runners, as I would say, and have encountered everything. So shortly after my granddaughter showed me you can walk on hot asphalt and with your feet in it, I had the opportunity to do this firewalk, and it was with Tolly Burkan, the one with whom I wanted to do this, but he had just retired actually because he had such a great organization and he was sending someone.
Other people to do it for, okay, all right.
But at the last moment,
He came.
the other person couldn't do it. Tolly Burkan came. And, I had read his book. He's a hero. The things that he went through to the path of doing something that to show us the power of, we call it the power of positive thinking. And we know it works.
Yeah.
But it was Jesus who brought it to our attention, as a man thinks it is. So, Tolly Burkan was adopted into a lovely family. His mother was Miss New Jersey. They were quite well off, he wasn't just poor little Tolly, and but he was divinely discontented. Now, I don't know of anybody.
That line just came to me. Your father's rich and your mother's good looking.
That's right, absolutely.
So this is where Tolly was.
Yes.
Yeah, that was his family.
And he was intelligent. Okay, he was smart. He became a magician.
Really?
Became a magician, and in the high school, he was so popular. Everybody liked him.
Yeah.
They liked him around. He did his shows, his magic shows in tuxedos, Well, he got engaged, and instead of marrying her, okay, and I think the wedding was pretty well set, and he's 19, okay. So they're on the beach, and he just walks into the beach and into the water and disappears.
What?
He just disappears.
Now, is this before he's supposed to get married or after?
Well, I think it's the same time.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, because there's a big party on the beach, okay?
Oh, no.
He just walks into the water, and he's gone. So they have a funeral, and, it's in the paper and everything because he's really, got it all, and he's gone. So it's several years later that he surfaces, okay?
Literally.
Literally surfaces. He's been a magician on a cruise ship, during which time he was his first or second attempt at suicide.
Okay.
And one time he went in his stateroom, in his room, closed it up, locked the door, because he had tried before and it wasn't successful. So there's no way now, that this is not going to work. Well, some divine intervention, he wasn't able to kill himself, okay? That happened 3 times.
So we have a very troubled boy.
A troubled boy.
Yeah.
A troubled
Yeah.
boy, and it wasn't about his environment.
No.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
He had everything except peace.
Divine discontent.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot
Yeah.
because everybody has it when you feel like nobody likes you, I can't get a job, I'm poor, and other folks are rich. Anyway, we all have a litany of divine discontent.
Something's
okay?
wrong.
Something's wrong here.
Could be somebody else out there, but something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Something's
I'm
really
not
wrong.
Happy,
Yeah.
Okay? And so this goes on for years, and he attempts suicide seriously, a couple of more times. He goes to India, by this circuitous route that Spirit has set for him, and his own higher self has set this map for him. And so he goes to India, and that really doesn't do it for him, although he sees Sai Baba and some other folks and some other gurus, and it's all wonderful, but it doesn't work for him,
Yep.
okay? I was talking to my sister, Sharon, and she was confirming with me from a book what I remembered about him. And because I've always held him in really high esteem, and what he went through, which is like life personified, generally we go through stuff. That ladder, those steps there. And he did. Now, he's sitting on, he and a girlfriend were sitting on a beach. They built him a big, fire. It's kind of cool at night. Well, after a while, she just gets up, and she starts, beating the fire down, okay?
Now, where is he at this time?
I believe it's Hawaii, but
Okay.
maybe that's my imagination.
Okay, all right.
But it was a beach,
It's
okay?
a beach,
And it was
okay.
beautiful.
And he's with his girlfriend.
And he's been all over the
yeah.
world.
Okay.
Seen
Yeah.
it all, done
Yeah,
it all,
yeah.
okay? So he's sitting there on the beach with her, and she gets up and pats down and he thought she's putting the fire out.
Yeah.
Why are you putting the fire out? No. It was a big fire. She bounced them, and then she got on them and started dancing
On the fire.
on the fire.
Now, is she a native girl or
No, she's just no.
just a girl?
She's not an
Indonesian.
fire dancer. Okay?
No.
She just she's a hippie girl.
Okay.
She's
All
a
right.
hippie girl, so maybe
Yeah.
she had a little.
Yeah, she connection in there. Something.
No, and maybe she had
Yeah.
a little something here that kind of, like hippies had.
Yeah.
I never got a hold of it, or I'd have been an old hippie. Okay.
So here he's and
How
she
are
starts.
you doing this?
Yeah.
Well, it sobered him up. You know what? I got to market this. Don't you love it?
Yeah. I mean,
You
this,
know, if you can
this
do
could
this-
sell in Poughkeepsie.
Well, absolutely. And she says, you can do this. Anybody can do it. If you know you can.
Wow.
If you know you can.
If he was threatened with that first girl at 19, this should have scared the heck out of him.
Well, isn't that the truth? But anyway, he's a hero.
Uh-huh.
And what he shows is that the first time doesn't always work.
Did he do it? I mean, of course he did it.
Of course he
Yeah.
did
So
it.
what happened? What did he?
Well, it changed his life.
Right. Okay.
The 3 suicide attempts didn't.
Uh-huh.
The riches didn't.
Yeah.
The poor didn't.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. Sai Baba didn't.
Didn't.
And his whole thing in India
Didn't.
But the beach fire did
Did it.
Okay? So, whatever it takes.
You sure? And it's waiting.
And it's waiting.
His
And it's
fire
waiting.
walk. You've had a fire walk. I've had a fire walk. You've had it literally. But,
Absolutely.
But when you see the light, it's the fire walk in some term that's going to bring you to the realization that it's far more than you ever thought
But
it was.
when I saw, and I go back to this not even 2-year-old little doll baby who was walking on hot asphalt
Yeah.
like this. And I stood there, and it was like Spirit said, you yell at her, she's crippled for life.
Yeah, she'll burn. Yeah.
She'll burn. I have had so many experiences since
Yeah.
that if you see someone in danger and you worry about them, okay, you could kill them. You can kill them. And that's why Spirit has says, don't ever agree with someone who is ill. Don't ever agree with someone who is dying if they don't want to die. God bless them for their choice. But if they want help, do not see them sick. They said, because remember, when two or more agree on a thing, the third one, which is energy, will make it happen. So it's not held me in great esteem to have friends and people I know that are very sick, and their normal response is, I need some sympathy. No, because they know they're sick, but they don't know that the spirit cannot be sick. They don't know that the condition is temporary and that miracles happen all the time. It's unfortunate. So that's why I'm really high on miracles, because, I remember what Joel said about the prophet said, time is coming when young men will show us possibilities. They will prophesy, your sons and your daughters. Well, when I saw that little almost 2-year-old do it, I learned a lot from her. I had always wanted to do it, but I wasn't sure.
Now, Betty. Now, here we are in Tucson. Here he is. He's coming.
Yeah.
All right? The guy you've read about.
Yeah.
You've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now,
And
I want to ask.
It wasn't his plan.
It wasn't his plan. So he shows up because somebody was supposed to do it. I have a real mundane question. We're in Tucson. Where did it happen? Where's the location?
About 10 miles out of town north.
Okay.
Okay. But I didn't mention one of my students. Now, my intervision class, that I had for 28 years, and 5 people said, we're going with you.
Okay.
All right. And I said, well, that's wonderful. They said, well, we're not walking.
Okay.
We're just going to take you home after you burn your feet, That's right. And so this was a huge fire. Okay. And I just knew.
Okay. All right.
So Tolly got up and walked across. There were quite a few of us in a circle.
Okay.
I walked right behind him. One of my students walked right behind me. She had no intention of doing it.
But she just got up?
She got up beside me and she walked right behind me. Changed her life. She was in the temple about earlier this year. Beautiful young woman who, like all of us, was in that things are not good.
Yeah.
Somebody's really hurt me.
Yeah.
Da.
Yeah.
She was interviewed in the paper that night, and she says, well, I've had an eating problem, caused by her daddy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what caused it, but you always got an excuse, okay? She told the woman, she says, well, if I can control my feet in fire, I can control my appetite too. Changed her life, saw her magnificent, beautiful woman. So it was really lovely, really lovely. As a man thinks it is, thoughts are things. Thoughts create your life for the better or for the worse. What is lovely is you can always change your mind.
You can always change your thoughts.
Always change
your thoughts.
You may not change the environment around you. You may be locked in a prison cell right now, but you can change your thoughts.
And the thoughts will change your experience.
And they will change it. I just tell people, your golden parachute is your mind, and your hell is your mind.
Mine too.
Yeah.
That's right. Truly, friends, 11 o'clock every Sunday, Prince and Country Club at the Masonic Temple, the Temple of Universality.